Today we're going to be talking about how we use the arm to throw the disc. I want to give you guys some tips today on what the arm should feel like, how the disc should feel in your hand, and what motions we use to throw the disc. All right, first things first, a disc, golf disc, is different than other frisbee objects. I'm sure most people at some point have probably thrown a frisbee with a dog, with their friends in the park, and while they're similar shapes, they're quite different when it comes to how they fly. Disc golf discs need a lot of speed and a lot of spin in order to stay in the air. If I take a disc golf disc and I throw it kind of how you would throw a frisbee, you'll see that it carries forward and flies and then wants to dump off to the left. And I'm sure that most people, when they first pick up a disc golf disc, that's how it's going to fly for them. But in order for it to be something that we can maneuver through woods, through air, to get closer to the target that we want over hundreds and hundreds of feet, we need to be able to generate more spin in order for the disc to lift itself in the air and turn as it flies. We'd like a disc to fly like this. Ain't that a beaut? All right, now I can't guarantee that by the end of this video that every disc you throw will do exactly that, but hopefully you'll feel more comfortable around holding this different object and the different ways that they're shaped. There's a lot of different ideas on how the body moves to be able to propel the disc out of our hands, but the most natural way that our body can move is to have our hand placed away from our body and use our muscles and use a pulling motion to pull the disc into our body. Now, if I do that literally, it would look like this, which is obviously not how I would throw a disc. The difficult part comes to be able to pull the disc without pulling it into our body, but past our body. The way that we can do this is by rotating our arm. We need to be able to rotate our arm internally as we are pulling. Now, disclaimer, this is not necessarily an easy motion to do if you haven't done this motion often. It requires quite a bit of flexibility. And there's a lot of stretches that you can find online about internal rotation as well as external rotation. All in all, increasing flexibility in the shoulders is going to be very important for being able to throw a disc comfortably and well. We want to make sure that our finger pads make contact with the inside of the rim of the disc. Which fingers and how many fingers make contact at this point is really up to your preference. That may change as you continue to throw, but for now, just make sure that some are making contact, and whatever ones aren't comfortable, you can push to the inside of the flight plate. When it comes to our thumb, we want to make sure that our thumb is on top of the disc, kind of as if we were holding a briefcase, is a common analogy used. Something with a handle that's hanging loosely from your hand. And when it comes to tightness of grip, we want the idea of loose but secure. We don't want the disc so loose that it can flop around. At the same time, we don't want to be flexing so hard that we can't remove it from our hand. You want to have a comfortable grip on the disc as if you were throwing a ball, as if you were holding a coffee mug up, just something that's secure. Now that we have the disc in our hand and we're familiarizing ourselves with how the disc feels, we can start to practice the motion of throwing. For the most part, when we're throwing, we want to have our back towards the target, meaning we don't want our chest towards the target. We don't want to be completely backwards, as in perpendicular, but a natural slant, as if you were looking over your shoulder. You can see the net is behind me. I am not completely perpendicular to it, but my chest is not open to it. I just have my shoulder between the net and my face. Now, with the disc comfortably in my hand, finger pads on the rim, thumb over top of the disc, with the disc floating within the space in front of my body, about 1.5 to 2 feet in front of my body. We don't want it super far away, but we definitely don't want it close to our body. We want to pull through the elbow. If you don't pull through the elbow, you'll have an inclination to close from the inside of your elbow. But we want to pull as if you were opening your refrigerator at midnight to get a snack. When we pull the refrigerator open, we want to kind of pretend like there's a little bit of a seal on that refrigerator, so it needs a little bit of a pop. But when we pop, we want to allow our arm to move freely. We can get used to the motion of that pop and then allowing the arm to continue. Once we've gotten used to this feeling, we want to hold the disc comfortably in our hands again, finger pads on the rim, thumb on top, and hold the disc as close to parallel as comfortable. To be able to actually release the disc when you pull, we don't think about actively opening our hand. The disc will tear away from our hand naturally. In order to make this motion throw the disc, we want to act as if we're pulling the refrigerator door, pulling our arm through our elbow, and we're pulling it as far behind us as we can. For example, that would look like me pulling this refrigerator door to here and then trying to continue to pull it behind me. This is when we can start to get into ranges of our shoulder that may cause discomfort. So don't try to force yourself to pull back as far as you possibly can. Just allow the motion to continue backwards naturally and let your arm relax after the initial force of the pull. And hopefully that should look something like this. Now, that disc released a little bit left of my intended line, but that's all right. Your disc may release a little bit behind you to the right of your intended line. It may release directly at the target. That'd be ideal. The idea of this drill is just to get used to the motion of throwing the disc. Hopefully the idea of pulling the disc is becoming more comfortable. Key point is to not pull the disc into our body, but behind our body. Very similar to if you had your arms out extended and you tried to touch your thumbs together. It's a similar pulling motion in the back. The part that may be more difficult is rotating the arm internally. We want to rotate the arm internally because the more internal rotation that we can get when we pull the disc, the straighter we'll be able to pull the disc for longer, creating more spin. If I don't rotate my arm internally, when I pull, I'll pull through my elbow and my shoulder will want to pull the disc out away from me. And while the disc is still going behind me, you can see that it's not moving in a straight line to my target. So we need that internal rotation. If you imagine taking your hand and putting it on a wall, and you drew a circle counterclockwise without letting your hand change its orientation, keeping it vertical. As you move it to the left, you'll feel some stretch in your shoulder. And that stretch is your shoulder needing to rotate internally. Now, the degree that it's able to rotate is going to be individual, and we can increase that flexibility. But on the course, we have to respect where we're at. I'm going to do this a couple times now so you can see how it looks like in my body. I'm also going to do this with both my hands for any other lefty throwers out there. going to do some more throws from a side-on angle so you can see how my arm is moving relative to my body. I also really recommend filming yourself at some point so you can see how your body is moving relative to how it feels that it's moving. I hope these ideas and drills were able to help you, and if you have any further questions, leave them down in the comments. Thanks for watching.